And perhaps magic happens right now. With a little bit of luck, we might be live on air on YouTube. And once again, it's been a while. This is Be Smart on Air. BS air. Absolutely no BS. or very, very, very little of it. Anyways, I'm Nilo from very, very northern Sweden. And there's my beautiful kayak in the background. So congrats to everyone who's watching on YouTube. Not much to see if you're just listening to the audio, unfortunately. Anyways, the focus, as usual, very broadly on education and technology as well. Always interesting with the international views on this, and especially today, it's going to be really cool. And guess what? We've got UK here as well, and let's see if we can get Lisa in here. Hey, Lisa.
UK in the house.
UK is here. Heaven's sake, Alastair is late. He'll be just like listening, unfortunately, or perhaps I need to kick myself out when Alastair comes in. Let's see how it happens. I think it's maximum 6 people, since this is the StreamYard solution, streaming directly to YouTube.
But I think it's 6 people live. You can have 10 people in the studio, so-called, but only 6 people live.
So I can kick someone out and take another one in or whatnot.
Yeah.
Hey, Alastair, do you copy? I wonder if he does when he's not in here. Let's see. Perhaps I can put something through. If you can hear me, Alastair, can you make thumbs up? Yep. All right. Well, so we've got only 6 seats here, it seems, like in the live studio. If you can sit tight, we can, kick someone out for a while and get you in or whatnot. So if you're not incredibly busy with other stuff, so it would be great if you can sit tight for a while. Do you think it works?
Where's the 6th one? I only see 5.
I'm the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think it works. Hey, it's just my maths. It's just my maths, for heaven's sake. My maths is not like tops. Add to stream. Let's see what happens.
Hey, there he is.
Okay. Here we are.
Are we 6 now or what?
Yes.
We're 6. How do I get the background, the nice virtual background in this little application?
I've got
tons of Zoom backgrounds, and here I'm in reality, unfortunately.
I think you need to log in. No, there's a green screen feature, but
that's right. That's
go
right.
To settings.
Settings. I just have a big piece of green cloth on the wall over there, and then I can have whatever.
Yeah,
whatever I choose. What background I choose. It's kind of fun. Mostly a gimmick, though, but.
Yeah, it says you have to have a green screen or blue screen. So unless you have a green screen behind you, you can't use it.
Right, green or blue, whatever, anything works. And then, obviously, if it's a green screen, you shouldn't be wearing green clothes. Otherwise, you just get a hole in your body or whatever. And the same applies to blue. So I'm kind of wearing blue here. So luckily, it's a green screen.
Somebody did that to Melania Trump.
Yes.
She was wearing a green dress, getting off Air Force One.
Yes.
And they put all kinds of unfortunate things on her dress.
Well, yeah.
How sad.
If they disappeared, I wouldn't be awfully sorry. I don't know. Perhaps I wouldn't be politically correct or something. But what the heck, guys? This is incredibly cool. Someone is calling. Hope it's not me. This is pretty cool, since we have an amazing panel here right now, and we couldn't have any more if my math this time is correct. And there are maximum 6 seats here in the live studio. So what about like quick introduction from each and every one of you, like where in the world you are located. As I said in the beginning, I'm staying put in very northern Sweden. These days, it's a pretty good place to be, actually, in more ways than one. I guess we'll come to that later. But like on my screen, I see Kim closest to me. Probably it's the same sequence for all of you guys.
Right.
Kim, Marilina, Bjorn, Lisa, and Alastair. What about if we run the introductions in that order as well? Kim, who are you? What are you doing? What are you doing here?
Works for me. So if you, since I can't do producing, you'd have to highlight me yourself, Nilo, else I'll be behind the StreamYard logo all the entire time.
Darn, I better try to get you front and center here.
Yeah,
So layout, what happens then?
That's
Whoa,
fine.
There we
whoa,
But,
man,
But
you're
I
on
was
your
thinking,
own now.
The Monsters Inc. You ever seen that little TV show where the guy in the round circle and he's
I feel sorry for the folks who are only listening to this, in case there is someone unfortunate person.
all right, so Nilo was in the furthest northern part of Sweden, and I'm in the furthest south part of Sweden, so in Malmö. And down here is nice. There's snow, sun is out, 20 degrees. I drove my motorcycle to work earlier today. So I was only there to pick up my phone because we do 2 days at work, 2 days at home. So that's how we do it down here. I'm an ICT technician in the municipality of Lomma, which is also in the south, just 10 kilometers away.
And the closest cities to you, big places?
Malmö and Copenhagen. We have
and how far would you say? How far roughly?
Copenhagen is, 20 kilometers? That's just across the bridge. We are
20 kilometers to Denmark for you.
physically connected by a bridge. So,
can you travel to Denmark these days?
Yes, you need not a birth certificate, but a paper that certification tells you where you live, because they have areas of Sweden, Stockholm people, the city, they are not allowed to travel anywhere.
Yeah, things are changing all the time, it seems, in various countries. Very good. Let's move on. If I can switch to Marilina front and center here, please.
Okay. So I'm from southern Italy. Well, here we're still in full summer, so much so that even schools haven't started yet, partially because of COVID, partially because of elections. We had elections last weekend, and so it took some time just to get the polls, and then we have to clean and sanitize the schools, because elections take place in schools. So they have to sanitize. So we decided to start on the Monday. So we're starting this Monday. So this is the situation here in southern Italy. In northern Italy, they have already started, but in southern Italy, no, they're starting on the 28th.
And you've been working quite a bit, like international stuff, for many years, right?
Yeah. In my school, well, I've been doing projects both with eTwinning, so Europe, but also with the US, with JDO, a foundation that allowed my students to work with classes in the US.
Right. Neat. We move on. And someone is typing darn loud like crazy. Kim, it must be you.
No, it wasn't.
Sorry, I forgot.
I do have a mechanical keyboard, but it's silent MX keys.
You must get a silent keyboard, for heaven's sake. Hey, we are going across the pond here. Let's see. Bjorn, good to see you again. It's been, like I said earlier, quite a while.
It has been a while. And, I've been busy like everybody else dealing with the COVID crisis here. And
Yep.
the
We'll
US.
get more into that later for each and every one, I'd say.
Oh yeah, and
What
we're
about
not going to
your-
go anywhere near the political nature. And
No,
Don't.
nothing like that. we all want to keep our jobs, right?
Oh my God.
Or do we?
I actually really like my job this year.
That's good.
I started last year at a new school district. Live in the same place, so I just drive south now instead of north.
Living exactly where, if you take that?
I am living in the middle of Vermont.
Wow.
So, which is kind of nice. I
It's
love
not
it.
awfully far from New York either, right?
No, it's
3-4 hour drive. What is it?
Yeah, it's about a 4 or 5 hour drive
Oh, okay.
to the city.
You get the leaf peepers at this time of
Oh,
year.
we get all the leaf peepers, and I'm looking outside a window right now, and we're at the very beginning of our change, and there's a lot of maple trees around me. So
It's amazing. I just seen a little bit of that way back, but it's really, really neat. What about your job? Like, has it been changing since, if you go back a couple of years? Tell a little bit about what you're doing.
Well, I started off as a technician, and so I was fixing printers and working with the computers and all that stuff. And then I went back to school, got my master's. And this past year, I got a teaching license for the technology innovation. So whatever, I think you guys call it, was it ICS?
Something like that. I've come
ICT
across
in the
these.
UK.
ICT, yeah.
ICT in the UK.
So a technology innovation or technology specialist is kind of what's here.
Yeah.
And so I got the job there. And I've been enjoying it. I've been helping out teachers. Last year, before everything went crazy, I was doing all kinds of training programs. I don't have to fix a printer anymore. That's probably one of the nicest things. And then I got really busy once COVID hit. So we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah. You've been podcasting quite a bit as well. I think we might get into podcasting as well later on, since I'm into that a little bit again, and I want to get some input from you guys. But your podcasting career got started again as well, right?
It started, it faded, it'll hopefully start again. I think we're going to get some of our instructional coaches into it a little bit too. So it's not dead. It's just like many podcasts, it ebbs and flows.
You'll be soon full power doing it again. I bet it's fun. Very nice, very nice. Let's move back to Europe. Man, I feel like this is crazy. It's like the good old days. I mean, folks from everywhere. Let's see, Lisa. Hey, good to see
everyone.
you. There's a bright window behind you. We can see you, but that is definitely better. A little bit.
Hang on a second.
Don't fall out of the window, please.
Is this too dark?
It's okay if you just lean forward a little bit. So it'll work.
This is I'm dialing in from my mother-in-law's room, who's staying with us at the moment.
Okay.
Due to some ill health, so the poor lady has to ask permission to come in. So hopefully she won't. If somebody comes in halfway through, just say hello or merhaba.
It's really, really, really neat to see you. I've been, telling you many times to pop in,
and I never have.
Super cool. You're in London, right?
I'm in London. I'm in North London, and we've had a relatively okay summer. I mean, lockdown was pretty awful. Our numbers lost have been very awful. I think everyone knows somebody who's affected, and then we were just thinking, it's August, it's summer, it's lovely, and then boom, September is here, and we are now in another situation where we're at risk of lockdown. So at the moment, we're allowed to meet in sixes, and that's it. But luckily, I work remotely anyway, so not really affected.
We'll definitely get back into the present situation in our countries a bit later. I guess we can take it after the introductions, a little bit more about how everyone is doing and how the loved ones and students and colleagues and all the other folks are doing. Neat.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Just
Hey,
a 2-second background. Shall I do a 2-second background? I know
please,
Nilo
do.
from eTwinning.
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
teaching
Yeah,
back in the day. I mean, I'm talking the back end
the
of the last
European
decade.
collaboration stuff.
Yes.
Mm.
And now I work for the Open University teaching a module on international comparative education.
Wow,
which is all remote, and that's great. That continues as normal because the Open University is open to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And
you work full time with that?
No, that's very part time.
Ah.
That's 9 months a year and part time. But most of the time, I work for a company called Lufta, which is a Finnish British edtech company.
Whoa.
And I'm doing that for about 3 or 4 days a week, and it's amazing stuff. I'll post you a link if anybody's interested in watching the 2-minute what we do.
Yeah, I think I must get an interview later on with you. You know,
that would be great.
That'd be tons of fun.
Yeah, and Greta, it's good to be here because you've invited me like probably 10 years ago, and every time I couldn't make it.
Yeah. Super nice. Good. And last but definitely not least, Mr. Alastair Creelman, good to see you.
Hello. I'm down here in the southeast of Sweden. So sort of Nilo up in the north, and and Kim over on the sort of west side, southwest, and I'm on the southeast side, on the Baltic Sea, in a city called Kalmar. I work at Linnaeus University, which was a fusion of 2 universities in the vicinity about 10 years ago. And I work with all things to do, everything with an e-learning, whatever it may be called, e-learning, distance learning, whatever. I'm not a techie. I don't do that sort of thing. I use the technology, and I'm interested in how it works and try to follow what's going on in the world. And here I am at home. It's very unusual. You're very lucky to see my real background, because most of the time I'm using tools where I can put in virtual backgrounds so people don't see reality. But here it is. This is where I am.
This time it's just me who's faking it.
I'm not faking it. This is really where I am. No, there's amazing. There's people I've seen people who have filmed their real background. There was one guy who did it where he had a film in the background, and every so often he came in the door and looked in and then walked out again. And you sort of think, wait a minute, he's sitting there and he's there, and which one's real and which one's
crazy stuff.
There's even
I have to do that with students. That would be amazing.
Even students have been found out attending video meetings where they have basically recorded a little short film clip of them sitting paying attention in front of the screen, and they just play the film loop and go and do something else, and everyone's sure that they're there.
Those folks have been watching. They've been watching Mission Impossible a bit too much.
I think they need kudos for their transversal skills there.
For digital skills.
You might wonder, I don't sound very Swedish. I'm from Scotland originally, from Dundee, and I moved over to Sweden during the Ice Age, I think, or sort of when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I've been here the large part of my life. I'm now a Swedish citizen and everything. I've got the T-shirt, but I still have my roots.
You and me, Alastair, we could switch over to Finnish, and make things really difficult to the other guys here.
Nilo, you need to fix the layout again, so we can see everyone.
Man, you should be doing this, Kim.
I know. I should.
next time it's you who's like doing the switching stuff. Alastair, before I try to get us all on the screen, you used to travel like crazy. I think things have changed quite a bit in that respect for you as well.
Oh goodness, yes. I mean, 2 years ago, I was I had a good time globetrotting in my work, and also privately. I love traveling. I love visiting other countries, especially countries that most people tend not to visit. I'm really curious to go to places that don't get much press. And in my work, I've managed to visit an awful lot. But About 2 years ago, I realized this is not sustainable. I've got to cut it down. And I did. And then along came COVID, and I've been sitting at home ever since, really. I don't get out much. And probably we'll never go back to the old, it's not an option anymore.
I think no, it's the new normal, whatever that is. We'll get more to that as well. Very well. Let's see, Kim, what's the deal here? No automatic switching here. Heavens, I must do this by myself. What a pain.
You have to do
Okay.
It's a pain. Right. Yeah, I got a couple of bullet points here, like 3 or 4. But I'm definitely interested in hearing a bit more about the present situation for all of you folks, since the world went crazy, and I mean it's obvious that all of us have been staying pretty much put. The way things have been in Sweden is, I believe, very much different from most other countries, for better and a little bit or quite a bit worse as well, depending what things you are thinking about mostly, I think. And just a quick one, looking back, I think the way I see it, what happened in Sweden in the beginning of the pandemic, the elderly people really got the worst of this, and that something went badly wrong somewhere. I really don't know exactly where. I guess no one knows exactly where, but I do hope that the folks who the authorities will be looking at that very closely later on. The good part is, of course, that schools never closed here, and most probably will not close in the future either, the way it looks right now. I'm talking about, the those guys who the age is up to like 15. The higher studies, that's a different story, and the gymnasium schools, as they are called, and universities pretty much shut down here, just like in many other countries as well. And right now, the things look pretty good, I think, in most of the country. And very good in northern parts of Sweden. And I don't think there is a single person in the hospital today due to COVID-19 in the north, in my area, and totally in Sweden. I think, I don't know, few, like 10, 15, I believe. Kim, do you have any idea about that?
The other day that it was 15. 15 in the country of 10 million. There were 15 people in the hospital.
Yeah.
We say 15 and we say it's on a ventilator. That's the hard part, because you can be in there and do checks. But that's the people we count and really care about. So 15 on intensive care.
In the north, there are 0 people in the intensive care. And as far as I know, right now, none hospitalized due to the pandemic. So that's pretty darn good. The schools, well, it's business as usual. It's been business as usual for my part all the way. We didn't know in the beginning if they'd be like, if they'd would be closing the schools completely as well. They did not, and in a way, for the most part, I'm really glad that they didn't, and I think it was a really good thing for the students as well. And obviously, that has not harmed or been a bad thing, considering the overall pandemic in Sweden either. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, That sounds like a really good situation.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, U.S. is much, much different. In Vermont, where I'm at, I'm just going to transition in here. So Vermont, where I'm at, we're actually like the best state in terms of the U.S. in terms of COVID cases. So we're lucky in that regard that, you know, our surrounding states are fighting this a lot more than we are. But it's also Vermont. I mean, you have to throw a stone pretty far to hit a neighbor in many places. So
Just like where I'm at.
but our school system back in the spring, they closed everything. They closed the schools, they closed the businesses, everything went closed. So parents were home, students were home, and they were trying their best to do, we called it emergency remote learning. And, you know, we went from teaching regularly, thinking everything was going normal, to 1 week later, we're fully remote. And that was across the whole entire state. And that was an experience.
Okay.
We had the summer off, and that would turn into a lot of planning. So, I mean, I was on like 3 different groups trying to help plan. And then I was like trying to build training materials for the teachers to how to teach in this environment. And now that we're started back up again, we started September 8th, and each school district gets to choose how they want to open. As the state opened up in like this extra hybrid type of a deal where you couldn't have common areas and you had to keep social distancing and masks, everything. We're now in a phase 3, which I think started this week, which allows us to start using some of the common areas, but it's still up to the schools. So the school that I work at, they have half this, which is a K-8 school, half the students are coming in Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, no students Wednesday for cleaning. And then Thursday and Friday is the other half of the students, but we're supposed to have 5 days of new learning. And where my kids are at is fully remote. So if you see them walking behind me, they're technically in school.
Okay.
And they're going fully synchronous, so my poor daughters have basically been on Zoom most of the day, or actually Google Meet most of the day. And the school where I work, we're trying to be completely asynchronous. So we've adopted a flipped learning environment. So it's really interesting to see 2 neighboring schools that I'm both involved in have a completely different approach to moving forward with this.
What about, do you have any clues about what's next?
I think we're going to slowly get into where we're bringing all the students in. One of the things that I know our school is we did a lot of training with flipped learning. We've done a lot of training with adopting learning management systems and really pushing the teacher as the facilitator. And we're kind of hoping that things don't actually go all back to normal. Those are really good academic things that we've been pushing forward, that once the school starts up again, we don't want to go back into the old traditions that we've been trying to replace. We want to try and keep some of the things that we've learned, but actually have the students in front of us.
Yeah.
And as for my own kids, they need to get back into a building. They really need to get back into a building. You could tell it's not good for them.
Yeah. And everyone is wearing masks, I guess. Outdoors.
Anywhere. Yep. We have a mask. You go into a store, you go into Walmart, you're supposed to wear a mask. You go into school. When they do go back to schools, or the students who are in schools, you have to wear masks.
Yeah.
I was in there doing a training yesterday with some paras, and I had the mask on. They had the mask on. Students were walking around. It was funny. There was one teacher that got too close to one of their students, and the student like freaked out. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, we're 6 foot.
Yeah.
Wow.
So even the kids are really, they're good about it, but
no masks here. And of course, that's one of these things that are being widely discussed. I just state the fact: no one wears basically a mask. I don't know, 1% of the population, even if it's that. I don't know. Kim, what do you think, Alastair?
It's mainly non-Swedes.
Yeah.
People who already culturally wear masks, where they come from or where their relatives come from, they don't have any issues with wearing a mask, but we don't. And also, again, the numbers show that we shouldn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. In Italy, the situation is more or less what Bjorn was describing in the US, because starting in March, school closed just suddenly, and teachers were faced with how do we teach? And really, what the problem was that they were not used to that, and many teachers had never used any video conferencing tool or even any learning platform, digital learning platform at all. So they were like lost. What they did is many teachers, they were just sending out photocopies to the mail of the parents, and the parents had to print it out and then send it and then take a picture and send it back to the teacher which is really crazy, I think. Really crazy. As to my school, we were on G Suite for education, so it was quite easy to get everybody on board. They weren't at that time on board because only the teachers who wanted and used it, and many teachers had never wanted to learn how to use it, to use Google Classroom and so on. They never wanted to do that, but then they learned quite quickly. And that worked well, except for the fact, as Bjorn was saying, I want to point that out, that what they were doing is they were reproducing school, but online, just online. So if I have like 1 hour 20 lesson, I have 1 hour 20 online with the students, and the students were not turning up. They were a little bit fed up of being online, and parents started to complain. And yes, I think that we learned a lot from that period, and maybe also on how to teach in a different way. Right, Bjorn? And I mean, I learned a lot because I was doing some teaching. And I must say that I learned that, for instance, I learned what my students were not good at and what they need really to improve, because this is a skill that they need for their life. And this is collaborating online remotely. This is something that they cannot do. My students are quite young. They're 11 to 13. But I found it really amazing that they could not get together and work on the same Google Docs to organize the material and to decide what they wanted to write about a project I assigned. And I found that is a skill that we should teach them. And we can only do that if we have digital devices available, if they can go online, and they can do that online. If we are in the classroom, we can do that, but we need a different setup of the classroom, definitely. And unfortunately, the situation here in Italy at the moment, we're going back to school, but we've got lots of limitations. So first one is that students have got to sit in single desks. They are alone in the desk first. They have to wear a mask. And we cannot use any device because it would need to be sanitized before anyone else can use it. So we cannot give them computers of any kind. And as soon as a student or a teacher says, well, I've got a headache, they are immediately sent home, and the whole structure is locked up, and everybody is tested in case there is a problem. We even have a special room. We have to have a special room in the school for these people who say, well, I've got a headache, or who's coughing, or sneezing, and they are sent to this room immediately. And we call parents, and parents have got to come and get them, and they can be sent to home remote learning of some kind. So it's a really bad situation, and a lot of teachers are really scared of the situation, and all teachers had to get tests. Blood tests for the COVID-19 to check that no one is there. And every time you get to school, you have your temperature measured. Yeah, and you have to certify that you did not get into contact with anyone who has got the disease. Yeah, it's really
once again, it's like a different.
And then there is another thing that is very funny, and I think is going to be a real mess at the first day of school, because you have like 8 different doors that students have got to use in small groups. So each student should know where they should enter from. So there are a lot of videos circulating on the net with, well, you can use this rope, and you just hang on the rope, and then put yourself into the window, the first window you find open.
We have one way.
Definitely a different world out there in most other countries. I mean, it's so incredibly obvious somehow that the especially if you work like, well, most of us do in the classrooms normally. Here in Sweden, the situation is completely different. It's pretty much business as usual. Of course, I mean, there's social distancing, like light going on, but otherwise it's wow, oh man, especially like both in UK. Definitely Italy and US. It's a completely different story. By the way, we must say hi to Johan here, a colleague of mine. Hi there. Do you hear us properly? Yes, thumbs up. So either your mic is not on, or perhaps it doesn't work for you to introduce yourself a bit. What do you think? You can make thumbs down.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just dropping by for a couple of minutes because I'm actually out in like
That's
5
great.
minutes or something.
Why don't you say a couple of words about what you do? Since I've been getting quite a bit of help from you in the especially in the tech department.
Yeah, sure. I've been assisting in IT basically because I'm a reformed gamer and programmer. So turns out I know a lot of IT things that just second nature to me. While I understand that most people in pedagogy, they don't have this in their blood. So I help them out, and it's my passion. I love doing it. Like technology should help people and not create problems. So that's when I try to figure out what's the problem so that technology can be used to help make things easier instead of harder.
I'm laughing only because I see Kim here. You guys don't, most probably. He was like giving you an applause here. I could do the same thing.
Right.
I mean, of course, that's just super cool, and it's great to have some folks here in our school who, both know the trade a little bit and are willing to help. Time is always, constrained as well. So most of pretty much everyone wants to help, but everyone is busy all the time. So I guess that's the main thing. But I keep bugging you for sure every time I get
It's no problem. Actually, I see it as professional development. Every time somebody asks me a question to something that I can't solve in about 10 seconds, then I've learned something from it, and I can carry that on to someone else.
Yeah.
So it's just improving the organization.
Yeah. Earlier, we were talking a little bit about the possible upsides of the situation. I think Bjorn, you talked a little bit about that earlier. Could you say a bit more about that? Things get so gloomy sometimes, and there's all this horrible stuff going on. People are stuck at home, and you can travel and whatnot, but there possibly are some upsides as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's certainly been everything. I put it this way: I've been working for over a decade to try and implement like Google Classroom and these things, and it's really this slow trickle thing, trying to get flipped learning into the classroom, get away from the lecture style. And when COVID pandemic happened, it was flick a switch, and those teachers that had previously adopted learning management systems in classroom and really jumped into one-to-one systems, which most of Vermont has with Chromebooks. I think we're lucky in that regard. They were able to adapt really quickly. And then it was, there's a term called cold turkey in Vermont, in US, where you just learn it. One day you're doing one thing, the next day you're doing another. So we've done a lot of training around learning and some really best educational practices. I know at the school, that was the conversations over the summer, is like, not how do we get through this, but what is the best way to teach in this? And then we also took a look at, well, what pre-existing ways of teaching could we adapt and that would fit? And that's, like I said, we really adopted an asynchronous flipped learning type of a model where the teachers have to kind of create the training beforehand. And we made it quite clear, Wednesdays. we had a fight with the administration on this one a little bit too. I think that Wednesdays are their time to create and curate content. Don't fill it up with meetings, don't fill it up with everything else, but that's what their day, that Wednesdays, that they'll actually have the time to build these materials for the week. And then when they do have the students, they're actually the facilitators of their own learning. And then they get to see what the actual thought process in there. So I'm really hoping that's going to continue. I think that was a good training thing. We're really trying to apply some good pedagogy to a bad situation.
Yeah. That's definitely an upside. And in a way, I think that because we've been just rolling on more or less as usual, so we have missed out a little bit, I think, in a way, in those, about those things you just mentioned. And I don't know, I'm like, I can't make up my mind completely. Perhaps it would have been a good thing to be forced to try the distance thing a bit more, like for real.
Yeah. And the other thing that has been absolutely amazing, and I know anybody who's been ICT has that it's done integration of some sort with technology, is it's hard to get a hold of the teachers. It really is in a regular classroom day, it's sometimes hard to get them. I have been able to make so many connections with teachers. It's been absolutely amazing. In the springtime, I was doing twice a week, twice a day. So 2 days a week, 2 times during each day, I was doing e-trainings with teachers. And I had really high attendance. A lot of people were joining me. I made so many positive connections. And now that school has started again, they're reaching out to me. They're realizing that the training I'm providing actually helps them. So a lot of them are, reaching out, and it's been amazing in that regard. So
very cool, for sure. Very cool.
Indeed.
I was thinking, yeah, please. Anyone? Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe if Lisa, sorry, I've got a few things following on from Bjorn, but sorry, did Lisa want to speak?
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine, Alastair.
Okay. Yeah, as we said, there are lots of terrible things going on, and these are weird times, and they could get a lot weirder. But at the same time, the positives, if we're looking for them, I've found in the university sector, one, just as Bjorn was saying, almost impossible to get some teachers interested in digital things at all. Impossible to get staff training going and competence development, and suddenly, whoom, they flicked the switch. We all went distance. All the universities in Sweden went distance, are still mostly distance at the moment. There are some on campus, especially first-year students, but most students are still distance solutions, and everyone working from home and everything. And what was so interesting was suddenly we got a sharing culture. And we've been talking about this and trying to get a culture of sharing amongst university teachers over so many years. And it's just been, this is mine and you can't have it. And then suddenly they start sharing. What we saw was both school teachers and university teachers in Sweden were starting up. In my organization, we started a Facebook group, a national Facebook group for university teachers when it all broke out. And that Facebook group is still growing. Every single day we get about sort of 10 new members. We've got thousands, and the amount of sharing that's going on there has been fantastic. It's unprecedented. We have not been good at this, and now suddenly people are saying, hey, here I use Zoom like this. Has anyone else tried this? And I've been doing this. And then they've been sharing videos they've done and screencasts and asking questions and getting instant answers from people from all over the country. I think that's been the big takeaway from this, that when you get in a way to, I don't think you can really bring about real change sort of bottom up, slowly but surely word. That's how we've been trying to work. Nothing works better than a crisis. And that sounds terrible to say, but when suddenly the dirty stuff hits the fan, the excrement hits the ventilation appliance, then suddenly we're very inventive, and suddenly we are, suddenly we cooperate. Suddenly it's fantastic. Yeah, Lisa, you can maybe take over now. What if we didn't have internet? And I thought about that as well. What would we have done in 1990? Would we just close down completely? We would have, I don't know. Lisa, what do you think? What on earth would we have done? Do you remember as far back as that?
Gosh. Oh, yes.
Computers and Tipex and
yeah.
I do remember.
I mean,
these copying machines that you roll around and you could get high on the alcohol,
those things, in the staff room,
Oh my goodness.
Marilina was talking about this situation of replicating the classroom, of printing worksheets, taking a picture of the worksheet, sending it back to the teacher to mark. I think that we've got that in the UK, and we've also got a situation where for example, deputy head teachers are driving around in their car delivering worksheets in envelopes. Because one of the things we haven't mentioned so far today is that in the UK, at least, this situation is replicating a lot of social inequality. So there are a lot of children who don't have devices at home. So if you are a family of, say, 3 children, it might well be the case that there is no laptop in your house because your parents use their smartphone or an iPad or something. And to ask 3 children to be online at the same time doing different lessons, or just to engage as distant learners. And I'm talking about primary school children now, which is kind of the age group I work with, up to 11-year-olds. And to have parents kind of supervise them in some way because they can't just be left to their own devices is a real issue. And there, for example, I've heard from one deputy head teacher that said at least half her school was not engaging in the provision that was put on during lockdown because they may be families that don't speak the language yet, they speak other languages, or they're in kind of real social deprivation and they're just trying to cope with life. And so asking your child to be online in a Zoom or Google Classroom meeting at 9 a.m. is never going to happen. And so those kids who have all the devices, have all the technology, have the parents supporting them with some kind of proper home learning that the parent is trying to engage with the child, it's just replicating all those inequalities. And for example, some families, if the parent is working for a big organization, off the top of my head, let's just say, I don't know, Unilever. And I don't know if Unilever are doing this or not, but they are doing things like providing private tuition online for some of their families' children. And they're providing other things like free access to online edtech platforms where they can engage in different kind of learning opportunities as well. So one of the big issues that is coming out, and the British government won't talk about, well, the Scottish government will acknowledge it, but the Westminster won't acknowledge it, is these deep inequalities and the gaps that are opening up for certain children that may never actually be filled. And this may happen as well to students, because students have been told to go back to university. They've arrived on campus, some of them, and now they're being told, well, you're going to do online learning anyway. So there's a lot of dismay amongst a lot of the population. And unfortunately, I know we're not talking politics, but politics has a big part to play in that.
Yeah, I'm actually going to add, in Vermont, or actually in the school where my kids are, we actually had an inequality with parents who had each parent was working. So what's happening is both parents had to go to work, and middle class, good income, but they had childcare issues. So they have a 6-year-old at home. What do you do? Your child is supposed to be home doing school all day, and you have 2 working parents, and that's created an inequality. So it's not even social inequality in terms of the low end. It's some of the upper end was unequal.
Yeah, for many families, it's an impossible situation, more or less. I think, unfortunately.
I can. In Italy, actually, we've got sort of a better situation, because the government gave the schools some money to buy devices to give out to students who did not have any. And so we were able to buy a number of devices for some families who did not have any. And also we got lots of internet providers who gave out like free licenses of free internet for at the time of the school lockdown for students only. So in Italy, that was not too much of a situation, but I think that with the families, that was the big problem. I can tell you about one of my students. He's Chinese, and he was not turning up at the lessons at all. And eventually we found out, and he was a very good student, very, very good student, very interested, very clever, but he was not showing at lessons online. And well, we tried to speak to the family, and yeah, they said, no, okay, no problem. We have everything, so we don't need anything. And then we found out that actually the boy was put to work at home. He was working and not studying because.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because that was the family. The family did not care about learning. And yeah, they had the opportunity to have him at home. He could help. So you work instead of learning. Yes. Yeah, I think that this was very, this inequality was really stressed, and also the importance of for children to access the internet was really stressed by this. But on the other side, as I told you, now that we are back, teachers are using digital stuff because we cannot have like paper, we cannot hand out photocopies because that would spread the virus. But so we're using the digital, but the students cannot use the devices at school, which is a little bit crazy. And another thing, Bjorn was telling about teachers that learned a lot from this period and got interested in digital teaching and classroom, Google Classroom, and how to use it. I found that, well, at least here in Italy, we got a lot of training on how to use Google Classroom and a lot of other tools. But what is really lacking is a pedagogy behind that. I mean, there is no change in the way they administer, if we can say that, the lesson, if they gave, they organize their lessons. And now each school has got to draft a plan in case of distance learning. And what all teachers are saying, well, okay, what we can do is, instead of having a period of 60 minutes, we can have a period of 45 minutes and allow 15 minutes between the periods, so that students are not for too long online. But they're not giving any other type of methodology that they want to use. This is the only thing that they can think of. We can shrink the time of the lesson. Instead of 60 minutes, 45. That's it.
Yeah. It's tough for sure, in many ways. And somehow I guess we just need to soldier on, and especially since no one really knows what's going to happen next and how long this thing is going to be. I was about to say around. Probably it seems it's going to be around forever, perhaps. But in what form? I guess that's the big question. No one knows, and and the experts are trying to figure out how long the situation will be extreme in a way that it still is in many countries.
On a positive note, the vaccine development trials are looking really positive.
They are.
And there's absolutely there are a lot. It's in the tens. I don't know if it's in the hundreds, but certainly I know there's an Oxford and Pfizer trial that's in phase 3. They're producing the vaccine already at mass scale.
Let's hope that does the trick, but I don't know.
That's our hope.
I think I'm sorry to put a damper a little bit, but I mean, I think I get very worried when people say about getting back to normal. There's a lovely quote from Greta Thunberg about we can't go back to normal because normal was the problem.
I think that's pretty good.
That's a bigger issue, of course. But and I mean, you've seen the cartoon where there's sort of a there's a big wave of COVID-19, and then behind that there's an even bigger wave of climate change. And we have really, this is a window really where we can start. A lot of people have rethought how they live and how we organize ourselves.
Exactly.
And the trouble, we could change this round. We've got the technology. We know what we should be doing. Sadly, the world's leaders are not on the board at all, and we desperately need leadership in this. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. But the knowledge is there, the competence is there. We have solutions. We just don't have any leadership.
Yeah,
that's getting political, but you've got to be said.
Well, no, it's true.
Yeah, go ahead.
The cartoon that Alastair was just referring to, I've seen an updated one where it's got the wave with COVID, the wave with climate change, and a wave behind that of I think it's extinct species extinctions. Because that's an even bigger threat. So we could get super depressed about that whole thing. But one of the important things is about the kids. Kids are really clued up on these things, and including ecological diversity, climate change, and so on in the curriculum, or as bolt-ons is one way that we can try and overcome the stress of this impotency of leadership. Yeah,
but look at the wonderful invention that's going on. I mean, there's a sort of black humor going around. I mean, there's all the memes and things like it was what a waste of money buying a year 2020 organizer.
Yeah.
And there was a handy calendar for each month of the year 2020, and it had showing later on in the month with sort of alien invasions, zombie apocalypse. If it's October, it must be there must be alien invasion time, and there were pictures of,
There is life on Venus. There may be life in the gas around Venus, so in the atmosphere. So these could be our aliens.
It's like him, but not as we know it.
Exactly.
You got to be able to laugh as well. I mean, otherwise we're definitely doomed, I think.
Yes.
Let's hope this whole thing will be some kind of a wake up call for those in charge as well. But perhaps it's the grassroots, us and the young folks who really need to take lead, and it seems they are, the young folks, taking the lead a bit. I guess we need to follow. Perhaps that's the deal. Listen, folks, I think it's time to wrap up. Any last important messages from any of you folks before we call it quits?
I have. Those who didn't know, I am this year part of the Google certified innovator program, which is virtual. So it's called VIA 20 this year. So 78 people from around the world participating this year. And usually it's a 3-day program. This time it's an 8-week program. So we are 2 more weeks and then we are done. So we started in the middle of the summer.
Very cool. Extremely neat. I would definitely, for my part, also later on talk a little bit more about different ways of reaching out and getting all the good stuff out from the schools, all the good stuff students create, and part of that is the podcasting thing and this kind of stuff as well. Now I have a bunch of students every week, like a couple of hours, that we can do pretty much whatever we want, like connected to media and all of this. So it would be fun to focus on those things later on, perhaps, especially on a future episode. Hope you guys can join me, because otherwise I'll not be able to pull it off.
We want
Great.
an updated picture at the back, though, the green screen. We need the snowy picture, the ice.
Yeah, okay. I better fix a winter pic next time, because I think next time, even though it might be just a couple of weeks or a month, it might be a little bit more like winter here, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll
Wrapping
try and get a
up.
picture
Wow.
from Vermont with all the leaves. You can
Yeah.
put that really mess people up.
You must do that, Bjorn, and fix the green screen so we can see.
Well, then I will put a picture of my palm trees on the seafront.
Yeah. Crazy.
To be continued, as they say.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Myself out.
Okay.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
And just like with Hang Us on Air, you can go off air before you turn
I
off
guess.
the thing.
I didn't end broadcast. If I hit end broadcast, I think it's what happens then. Let's see.
You should do that first. Yeah, so